Welcome everyone to the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History gallery today at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History with our very own Emma Laser, who's helping us put together this program series. And tonight is the first of a 6-part series that we're doing to showcase the artwork for an exhibition called In These Uncertain Times. And before I continue, I'm going to go ahead and be admitting a couple more people to this program. Sorry that we all kicked you off for a minute. So I think that we should have just about all of our folks back. And so thank you so much for your patience with us this evening. We're all trying out new worlds. And so we're really happy to have you all with us tonight. My audio is now working, so that's great. We're joined by some phenomenal artists tonight that we're really excited to hear more from. And it looks like we've got most of our folks in the room now, so welcome, welcome everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and ask folks to go ahead and put your video and your mic on mute, if you could. And that way we'll be able to have enough bandwidth to share images and there won't be too much of a delay. So thank you in advance for doing that. And yeah, again, for folks who weren't joining us a few minutes earlier, my name is Everett and I'm on the exhibitions and programs team here at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History. And we're really excited to have you here to celebrate the artwork in the exhibition In These Uncertain Times. I'm going to go ahead and start off tonight with a quick land acknowledgement. The land on which we gather is the unceded territory of the Awaswas-speaking Yuibi tribe, the Amamutsin, comprised of descendants of indigenous peoples taken to the missions Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during Spanish colonialization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore the traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma. So again, thank you so much for joining us. The exhibition that we are going to be diving into a little deeper tonight is called In These Uncertain Times. And let's see, today is February 12th, and so we are coming up on almost a year that Santa Cruz has been on, off and on shelter-in-place precautions. And here at the MAH, we do have our doors currently closed, but we have everything ready to go as soon as we are able to open up again, and once we hit the red tier in our county, and we're really looking forward to inviting everyone back into this space when it's safe to do so. But in the interim, we have a really great set of programs for you this evening. And I'm gonna go ahead and start off and talk a little bit about how this exhibition got organized. It's showcasing 60 artworks from artists from across Santa Cruz County. And we sent out a call for interest to anyone who is kind of creatively engaging with this moment to kind of process their feelings, to raise or shed light on some of the issues that have come up over the last year. And we just really wanted a place where people could come together and really think about the different ways that we've experienced this moment differently, but also the way that a lot of those experiences have been really similar for a lot of folks as well. And so historically, pandemics have forced humans to break from the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next, and we can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and our hatred, our avarice, our data banks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly with little luggage, ready to imagine another world. And that was a quote from an essay called The Pandemic is a Portal by Andurachi Roy. And that's just an essay that has come up a lot over the last year that felt really prescient to this moment. And this show is also an acknowledgement that this isn't the first global pandemic and it won't be the last. COVID-19 serves as a reminder that our lives are always marked by uncertainty. But thankfully, art can give us a space to grieve, process, and heal during these difficult times. If the pandemic is a portal for imagining a better world, our creativity can provide us with the tools we need to move through it. From memorials and portraits in isolation to artworks providing emotional support to essential workers, this exhibition offers an opportunity to share our collective experience of this moment. Featuring the work of 60 local artists in these uncertain times highlights the creativity and compassion of Santa Cruz County during this global pandemic. And so tonight, we'll be sharing kind of part one of this exhibition series. The exhibition has been organized, kind of as a way to make sense of this much larger call for entry. And as one would expect when looking over a lot of work, things tend to kind of fall into themes or different ideas that relate to one another. And the one that we're going to be talking about for this section is what is essential. And that has been a phrase that's been kind of popping up all over the place, thinking about not just essential labor, but things that are essential in addition to food security, but also access to mental health resources. This has been a time of really thinking about what is basic and what do we need to kind of move through this moment together. So the rapid spread of COVID-19 has significantly impacted the daily lives of people in our community and all over the world. While shelter-in-place orders have many people spending more time at home, others must continue to live and work with caution. These artworks reflect on the impact this crisis has had on our lives and those who work tirelessly on the front lines of this pandemic every day. So the artworks featured in this section are going to be talking in a lot of different capacities, not only about essential workers, but some of those essential items that we have been really kind of referring back to over this time. So I'm going to go ahead now and turn it over to our practicum student, Emma Laser, who's been working with our exhibits team on programming, and she's going to walk you through all of the artworks in this section this evening. And I know that we're joined tonight by several artists who are in this section and who are in this exhibition. We have invited two people to present a little bit more about their work in depth. And if you are here with us this evening, and I see you, Michael, here, if you want to say a little bit about your work during the Q&A at the end of tonight's event, we'd love to hear from you. And throughout the event, if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll go ahead and keep track of those so that we can get back to them toward the end of our program this evening. So thank you again so much for joining us. I hope our audio continues to work. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Emma, who is all the way on the other side of the gallery, because social distance is cool.
Thank you, Everett. And thank you, essential workers everywhere and everyone. What I love about this work, this group of works, is the range of perspectives shared in this series. There are works that bring humorous touches, raw, real truths, address issues of equity and social justice, and provide introspective reflection. Hard looks at reality, as well as the moments that we have all had of isolation, of dreams, and of hope. Humanity. The first piece in this series is The Shrine of the Holy Hand Sanitizer by Anastasia Torres-Gill and Gretchen Reinhardt in mixed media. These artists shared that in the beginning of COVID-19, finding a bottle of Purell was like searching for the Holy Grail. We celebrate the rare Purell along the other items which become overnight hard to find and necessities. Next, we have the spiked chainmail mask by Jack Turner, which was created using 3D printed plastic. In Jack's words, this mask won't stop viruses, but it will help with social distancing. Michael Lane's piece is a digital print where he says that the pandemic has changed a lot of things, like physical contact. Some miss it more than others. This next piece is Christina Sayer's photo collage titled Have Hope. Christina Sayers is a Santa Cruz born and raised among the waves, as she says. She is a native to Santa Cruz and a sand and sea surveyor of art, a mother of 4 and a grandmother to 3, and wife of Man Cub. She is motivated by all aspects of her hometown through mixed media and photo montage work. Her themes are centered around whimsical ocean life, abstract forms, recycled materials, and tongue-in-cheek satire by Basquiat Andy Warhol, and Terry Gilliam and of Monty Python. Christina has no formal art training and creates her instinctive use of color and selfishly self-pleasing aesthetics. Her artist intentions are to encourage a close look at provoking details, expressive depth of layers, and repetitive patterns among viewing her language of art. Christina has actually joined us tonight and will share a little bit more about her work. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second and invite Christina to join me in this conversation.
Hi, Emma. Thanks for the introduction.
One moment here. Let me just get technology. There we are. All right. Hi. So Christina, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for asking me.
I'd love to know a little more about what this piece represents to you.
Well, initially I submitted a different piece. I had submitted a piece that had to do with essential mass, which is a lot of our theme right now, shared theme. And I happened to be, I shared this with you this morning. I happened to be on an EDD call for unemployment. And I knew that I needed to be on the call at 8 a.m. So I was on the call on hold for 4 hours. And during that time, I could only listen to the song Roxanne by the Police over and over again for so much, for my attention. So I decided to just start painting. And I had this piece this background piece that I had been working on with the houses, and that's the image to the right, which is an old advertisement from the Good Times. It's home listings. And I created this background piece. And I turned on the news, and that's the first day, August 16th, of the fires that started for the CZU fire. And I just kind of became absorbed in thinking of, you know, what's happening, how long is this, how big is it, and just sporadically hearing news about it while I sat on 4-hour hold, which concluded with me finishing the piece and taking care of my business with Unemployment Development Department. And I was really happy with the piece and contacted Whitney and asked her if I could submit this in place of what I had originally submitted. And she was kind enough to allow me to do so.
Thank you for sharing. That's a really interesting perspective. I think that, as we were talking about earlier, we all have these moments where we're on hold forever, and to be able to utilize time and channel it into a piece like this is a wonderful and more meaningful use of time. I think sitting there listening to the canned music that we always hear on the phone.
Yeah, I had no idea that Roxanne was part of their hold repertoire. I was kind of surprised by that. But it took away the frustration of being on hold and why I was on hold. And I think art does that for a lot of people that are creative, that it's an escapism that allows us to focus on the present and what we're doing. A lot of people, myself included, this is the best and most healthiest mental thing that I could do for myself, especially during these times of, you know, honoring the stay-at-home order and working within my studio, what I have available.
Along those lines, I'm curious, could you talk a little more about what you're working on now? Like what else are you working on in your practice?
Well, I'm trying to put something together there was a call for the Pajaro Valley Arts Council wants to do a poster on the similar themes that you're having at the exhibit at the MAH. But I'm currently exploring more recycled materials, just so I can stay home. And I'm finding more, I'm being more challenged to be able to develop just what I have without leaving. And I kind of like that. And I do, like I said, I like to recycle a lot. A lot of us have been depending on deliveries and Amazon, and we have all this excess of just materials. And so I've been making my own box canvases, layering of cardboard, and you glue it all together. I don't know if you can see that, but it's about that thick. So I've been using the cardboard from Amazon boxes to create my current work. And so it's 100% recyclable. The piece I have at the Artisans Gallery for the Hearts for the Arts is 100% recycled materials. So
that's fantastic. And
thank you.
So inspiring too for those of us who are at home a lot to maybe rethink of the things that we're throwing away and how those could be recycled and reused to create and reflect on what we're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Emma. Thanks for asking.
So this next artist, Tanya Gilbert, is actually sent us a large portfolio of work to choose from and created these reflections of the past year. Tanya says, in early March 2020, I was struck with the realization that nurses had an obligation in our to get our country through this epidemic. I was aware of the fear and tragedy touching the lives of all healthcare workers and wanted to find a way to bring inspiration, hope, and humor and humanity back into our hospital break rooms. So this is a series of the work that Tanya has on display here and a close-up of two of the pieces. Next, we have a poem by Micah Miller. Micah says, it is a poem not only about connection during quarantine, but about girlhood and how we all learn from and exhibit its best characteristics. I'm going to read this poem to you now. I mean, who among us hasn't said or thought, ugh, Mom, this week, while on the phone with our parents, or locked themselves away while texting our friends and enjoyed it just a little? And my boyfriend is a teen girl too, wishing he could go out and unsure of how to enjoy all the time on his hands. He's learning to bake, and what is more teen girl than this, than a creation of sweet things and how he watches over them. Calls the coffee flan he made breakfast and offers a piece to me, a gift. And I am a teen girl too, then with my messy house that is just a messy room that I refuse to clean until I will want to move around the furniture, show it off to my friends via video chat and hope someone says it looks nice. Teen girl hungry for, I'm proud of you, and my grandmother who is sick is a teen girl too. How her neighbors bring her groceries and she's taken care of. How we send each other pictures of our pets to suture our hearts together again. And what is more teen girl than every I love you that lockdown begs? My sister, who is just barely 19, who's still in the last year of true teen girl, she calls me and we talk for hours on the phone and she says, I'm looking for love. Tells me about her dating apps and how one had her answer the question, what is something strange you are afraid of? And this is so quarantine, so teen girl too. To be afraid and to wear it proud. Display it on the front page where everyone will see it. And the teen girls, they are doing just fine. They are more prepared for this than any of us. How the world blames them and everything that is done to them already. Calls them a knife and regrets the way they hold it. They are so scared and also not so afraid. How they must be why the weather was so warm some of the days last week, and some hours it hailed. But sun always broke through like blessed volatility. They say spring break with excitement, hot laptop bottoms and closed doors, still giggling from the other room. And maybe it's because I used to be one, a true teen girl, I mean. But I think they most likely to live through anything like what is more teen girl than apocalypse? What is more teen girl than survival? Thank you, Micah. Next, we have a still from Gabriel Medina's short film, Essential Workers. Join us on March 19th for a virtual screening of this work and other videos that were submitted for this exhibition. Vivian Vargas' photography piece, We Must Carry On, is a photography piece that Vivian is going to talk a little bit more about in a moment, but I want to share first a little bit about Vivian. Vivian grew up in the Florence neighborhood of Los Angeles. She's a third-generation Californian who lived in Germany for 14 years. In 1996, she moved to Santa Cruz. Her formal study of photography and art was at the Los Angeles City College. However, the bulk of her art studies took place visiting museums and galleries on 5 different continents. She was a member of the photography clubs in Los Angeles and in Chicago. And in 2013, she had a First Friday show of her photos on art and design in Berlin. I'll turn it over to Vivian now to talk a little bit more about her work. Please bear with us as we transition to sharing Vivian's screen. One moment. I wish I had that great phone music that we were talking about earlier for right now. Vivian, could you unmute yourself? Perfect.
Okay, so I don't, you can't, are you there?
There it is, yep.
Yay, all right. And let's see, screen sharing. Oops, why did I lose it?
You're sharing your screen still. I think you just need to start the slideshow.
Okay, I don't see the slideshow on my screen. So let's see. And oh, there we see, I was hiding it. Okay, good. My name is Vivian Vargas. And in these uncertain times, I am not alone. I am a mother, a wife, artist, cousin, daughter, and Thea. I am a Latina. My mother is from East LA. My father was from South Central. I grew up in the Florence neighborhood of Los Angeles with my brother, sister, parents, grandparents, and cousins. In 1965, my father was hit by a car, driven by a drunken teenager. He was 35 years old and suffered permanent brain damage. Education was very important to my parents. I was good at school and acquired certificates. But if I wore my hair a certain way, wore certain clothes, relaxed my pronunciation of words, the papers were invisible, and I was just another Mexican to the racists. But it was those papers that gave me the opportunity to travel, to see the world. Before COVID, I saw a whole generation of elders disappear, and I inherited vintage photos of my family. Now, during these COVID times, I have been thinking about identity, identidad, and I have been asking myself several questions. What is elemental to my identity? What have I internalized from the society around me? How have my relationships shaped me? What are my fears? And most important of all, what are my debts and obligations to those whose labor sustains us? In these uncertain times, Latino essential workers have sustained higher rates of COVID infections and deaths. And this is because they must carry on. Debemos continuar. We must carry on.
Thank you for sharing, Vivian.
You're welcome.
Echoing our In These Uncertain Times exhibition at the MAH, the Cessnon Underground at UC Santa Cruz has a current exhibition called At the Present Moment. This community exhibition features art that UC Santa Cruz students have made during the COVID-19 pandemic. Continuing with the theme of what is essential, this next piece is part of the Cessnon Underground show and is by Claire Apana and it is called Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is. If you're interested in seeing more works from the Cessnon Underground exhibition, feel free to check it out online. Everett's going to pop a link in the chat here so you can take a look at this later. One moment, please. Technical difficulties.
Hello, I've teleported over to this side of the gallery, and I'm taking on the name Emma Laser temporarily. But thank you so much for joining us for tonight's presentation. And it was so lovely to hear from our guests, Vivian and Christina. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and to talk a little bit more about your work in the background around the pieces that you've made for this show. And now we're going to go ahead and go into a Q&A. So if anyone has any questions about the exhibition, we're happy to answer those now. And if you have any questions for either of our guests this evening, Vivian or Christina, we can have them chime in and we can talk a little bit more about the show. So we'll just take the next 10, 15 minutes to go over any additional comments folks may have. You know, we are here in this space, so if people would like a close-up on any of the specific objects from this section, we'd be happy to walk you on over there and show you a little bit more. And now is a great time to plug if you're interested in seeing more of this exhibition. This specific section actually was one of the, there are 6 sections in the show. For our next upcoming program, we're going to be heading over to the east side of the gallery, and we'll go over an additional 9 works and be joined by another couple of artists for that as well. So does anybody have any questions for our artists this evening? And then also just a plug to, Emma mentioned earlier on in the evening that we've got some great films that we'll be sharing for our virtual screening, and that'll be on the 19th, March 19th. So please feel free to come back and join us for that. We'd be really excited to have you here with us. And that's also going to be co-hosted with Emma and Edith from the Cezanne Underground, who will be talking a little bit more about some of the films that were submitted for that program as well. And this was our first of the series, so we're still kind of getting the hang of this. I kind of feel like the robot at the front of the Star Tours ride right now, but we really appreciate your patience and for taking some time out of your Friday night to spend it with us. And it looks like we don't really have any other questions. So let's see. Oh, we've got one from Sharon S. to Vivian. Vivian, how do you feel that your travels have influenced your identity? Do you want to respond to that and go ahead and unmute yourself, Vivian?
So Sharon and our book club yesterday had a long discussion on identity. And identity simply defined is who somebody is. And in my family, my mother always said, see the world, travel. And my father was in the Korean War and did reconnaissance. And as part of it, he had an R&R in Japan and brought home to us several things from his visit to Japan. So to me, I think identity came from my parents as far as the urge to travel, and so I guess the identity is, you know, is my parents' influence, and being a visual person. When you go and travel, you're seeing new things, and it's like eating a rich meal. It's having a rich experience. So I think that is how my identity, you know, physically, emotionally, is related to travel and formed by it.
Thank you, Vivian. I think that this is such an interesting question too, as we all have, you know, unique identities, how we go into new cultural contexts, how that changes, you know, which identities are at the surface level for us in that moment, and that always is shifting and changing as we enter new cultural climates. Does anyone else have any questions? That was an excellent one. Or even thoughts about this presentation tonight or some of the art that you saw? If not, that's okay. I was thinking I might take you on a little walkabout in the gallery so you can see how everything is displayed. So, oh, Beth is wondering, is it possible to speak to Vivian's presentation? Yes. Do you have a specific question about the presentation, Beth?
I just wanted to just speak to the locale where she grew up and tell her how much I appreciated her presentation, if that's possible.
Oh, yes. Continue if you'd like.
Should I do video or should I just be invisible?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay. I just thought, Vivian, I just thought your presentation was absolutely exquisite and moving. And I just wanted to let you know that I know those locales you were talking about in LA. I grew up in LA. I went to LA High. And all those neighborhoods were places that I have gone and been and interacted. And I just wanted to thank you so much. And I thought the work was beautiful too. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Beth. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. That'll be the end of our formal program this evening, but Emma's gonna go ahead and just do a little walkthrough if you're interested in kind of seeing a little bit of the layout of the show. And thank you again for coming tonight. And we look forward to sharing more art and more stories from artists next week. Same Zoom space, same Zoom time. And you can find the listing for all of these events on our website. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thanks to all of our members who are joining us this evening and all of the artists who have contributed their work and stories to the show. It's just been a fabulous experience getting to know all of you a little bit better and to be able to share this story with the rest of the community. So thank you. Have a beautiful evening, and we'll lead you out with a little walkout.
Thus concludes this night's tour. Hope you all have a great night. Stay safe out there, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.